Imagine 4 versions of the same building. One viewport, drag a handle, and each slice shows a different construction phase. Let's rewind a bit. 3 months ago, I was playing Split Fiction and I saw this. That mechanic sent me down a 3-month rabbit hole of clipping planes, custom C++ widgets, and HLSL shaders that I had no business writing. And near the end, I'll show you the math trick that actually made it all work, and the engine feature that made my math trick basically obsolete. Alright, spoiler alert for the last level of Split Fiction. Here, the split screen bar stops being a UI element and becomes a mechanic. Your movement controls where the bar sits on the viewport, it controls rotation, it controls which world you're jumping into, and you can actually cross over it. That's not a split screen, that's a full comparison engine. I've been creating ArcViz projects for a while now, and one of the things clients always ask is, show us option A, show us option B. Overlay the point cloud on the building model, toggle visibility on and off. What if, instead of toggling, you could just compare? In real time, navigate your scene in third person and drag a slider that cuts your viewport into slices, with each slice showing a different version of the same building. I just had to figure out how to do it. I started with something I was familiar with, a crop box. It's a clipping volume where you control the center, the dimensions of each axis, and whether you're cutting objects inside or outside the box. I made a quick material function, applied it to my master material, simple. Quick note about the point clouds. I've been helping a group in Ottawa document one of their design builds, a community pavilion. Over 5 months, I went in with my drone, took photographs, and exported out these point clouds for this test. The crop box worked, but I didn't just want to cut the scene in half like Split Fiction does with 2 sides. I wanted endless sides, multiple clipping planes in the same scene. And a box was getting hard to manage, so I pivoted over to individual clipping planes. For this test, 3 clipping planes, 4 vertical slices. Alright, here's the concept for how we're going to apply this to architecture. You know those before and after sliders on websites, where you drag a handle to compare 2 photos? I thought, how cool would that be in 3D? You slide back and forth, but you can also navigate in first person or third person like you normally would. So I hooked up a widget slider to control the plane. My player had a spring arm with a camera, and the clipping plane was centered on the player. Whenever I moved the camera, I grabbed the spring arm's rotation and rotated the planes normal so it was always perpendicular to my view. For cutting the screen in half, this worked perfectly. For anything more complicated than that, it quickly fell apart. The idea was simple. Move the slider, offset the clipping plane, but the plane was orbiting with the spring arm far away from the camera, and I wanted a clean vertical slice on my screen. What I ended up getting was an angled slice. The farther the clipping plane sat from my camera, the more perspective warped it. I wanted a orthographic cut, but my camera was perspective. So that's when I changed my approach. Instead of offsetting the clipping plane from the player, I moved it directly onto my camera. And instead of sliding the position as I moved the slider, I rotated the plane around the camera's yaw axes. I messed up the first time and accidentally inputted roll instead of yaw, which actually gave me this really cool radial sort of windshield-wiper effect. I'm gonna file that one away for part 2. Fixed it quickly, went back to yaw, got it working. And that's when my real problem started. Problem number 1. It only worked at exactly 16:9 aspect ratio. If my viewport was wider or squished, the angle offset just didn't line up with where the slider handle was on the screen. Problem 2, and the bigger one. The way I set up the widget slider, it covered my entire viewport so the handle could range from edge to edge. Nice thin black line that you can grab. But if your slider covers the whole screen, it absorbs all your inputs. You can't navigate your scene anymore. My band-aid fix? 2 sliders. One thin slider that was actually interactable, just had a handle image of a left-right arrow, and then a second slider behind it, full height, that we'd update at the same time to draw the vertical line. It worked, but you couldn't click the actual vertical line, which kind of felt wrong. I put the project down, took a break, and a month later I had an idea. Now, by this time I had a bit more C++ experience under my belt. I decided to migrate the widget logic. I transitioned to a custom Slate widget. a comparison handle that only registers input if you're hovering over the thumb or the vertical divider line. The key was hit detection. Instead of the whole widget absorbing clicks, I check if the mouse is over the handle or the divider. Everything else passes through to the seam. It worked. So naturally, I layered 3 of them on top of each other. Yeah, only the top layer was interactable, which was the same problem I had, so I decided to reconfigure it. Now I had one widget, up to 3 handles, each with its own vertical divider, and now I just needed a material system to actually show the different models for each of these slices. And that part took longer than everything else combined. I spent 2, maybe 3 days trying to get the multi-slice logic working in the material graph. Dot products, if statements, trying to make sure only one model is visible per vertical slice. I just couldn't get it to wire up correctly. Even with all of this organization, my graph was turning into a mess. So I decided to write it out. I'd been curious about HLSL custom nodes for a while. If I'm having this much trouble wiring it visually, maybe I should just write the shader logic as code. Each model gets a slice index 0 through 3. The shader takes the camera position, the plane's normals, and the pixel's world position. It does a dot product against each plane's normal to figure out which slice that pixel belongs to. If the pixel slice doesn't match the model's slice index, opacity goes to 0. And it worked. Now I had multiple sliders controlling multiple plane rotations, all updating on event tick, running through a map of clipping planes, computing angle offsets, writing to a material parameter function 3 times per frame in a for loop in Blueprint. Generally, event ticks are recommended sparingly. I had a feeling that this was going to eat my performance as I started testing with heavier models. So I migrated it to C++, wrote an extra component called Comparison Clip Manager. It auto-detects whether you're using a spring arm or just a camera. If there's a spring arm, it grabs rotation from there since it already handles camera lag. And if it doesn't exist, straight from the camera, making it easy to reproduce for future projects. Remember when I said the math trick from earlier? Here it is. You can't just linearly map the slider position to an angle offset. Perspective projection is nonlinear. A slider at 50% of the screen isn't at 50% of the field of view. The fix? Compute the horizontal half tangent from the field of view, multiply it by the slider value, and then take the arctangent. That gives you the actual angle in world space that corresponds to where your handle actually sits on the screen. Oh, and it has to account for aspect ratio, because the reported field of view is vertical, not horizontal. So you derive the vertical half tangent first, then scale by the actual viewport's aspect ratio. Last piece, I added a toggle to my toolbar. When comparison mode is off, the component writes plane count 0 to the material. The shader sees this and only shows the model with the slice index 0. No 4 models stacked on top of each other. Then when you turn it on, the handles appear, and each slice gets its own model. It worked, but it kind of looked like a PowerPoint slide. Click on, click off. No transition, no sign of life. So I went back to C++. I wrote a set-enabled function that doesn't just flip on a boolean. It catches where the handles are, snaps them to the right edge, and then starts an animation timer. Each frame, we interpolate the handles from start to our target value. And the cascade is a stagger. Each handle starts a 1/10 of a second after the last. Toggle off, and the order reverses. Rightmost plane exits first. And the movement isn't linear. It eases in and out. Slow start, fast middle, slow stop. First attempt at easing, nothing happened. I referenced the ease alpha before I declared it. The whole variable was garbage, passing 0 to every handle. Now, the architecture was the interesting part. The animation shouldn't move the clipping planes directly, as you can see here. It should drive the widget. This is the same widget that the user drags, and the tick loop just reads from the widget every frame, same as always. It has no idea whether a human is dragging it or an animation is running. One code path, making it easier for future iterations. Adding a quick visibility toggle to these slider handles makes this feel much more complete. Let's pause for a second. Remember that tangent-based field of view math? The whole reason the clipping planes finally lined up with the widget handles? Yeah, it broke. I don't know how or when this happened, but as soon as I resized my viewport away from 16:9, the clipping plane started drifting again. The wider the viewport, the worse it got. The root cause was subtle. Turns out my manual trig was computing in one coordinate space. The Slate widget was reporting values in another. And Windows DPI scaling made it diverge in ways I couldn't predict. So the fix was to just stop doing the math myself and use a function that Unreal already has called Deproject screen position to world. It takes a pixel on your screen, runs it through the engine's own projection matrix, and gives you a world space ray. The same projection matrix the renderer uses to draw the frame. So now, I map the handle value to the screen pixel, deproject it to a ray, and cross-product that ray with the up vector to get the plane's normal. Manual trig, correct in one aspect ratio, deprojection, correct by definition. Last touch, labels. Each slice gets a text label drawn right in the Slate widget's on paint. The date the point cloud was captured, the model name, whatever you want. Font, color, orientation, placement, all configurable from Blueprint. Now, it actually looks like a tool. Time to see the whole thing together. Here's Split Fiction. And here's my version. Similar idea, different use case. One last thing I had to fix. The point clouds were all wrong in scale. I took them into Cloud Compare, did point pair picking to coarse align them, and then ran ICP for fine registration. 3 months for a proof of concept. That's more time than I wanted, but along the way I learned a little bit more about C++ widgets, HLSL custom nodes, actor components, animation state machines, and that sometimes the engine already has a function for math you spent a little too long writing by hand. If I rebuilt this tomorrow, I'd add radial slicing. That accidental roll input looked way too good to ignore. And I kind of want a horizontal slicing too. Runtime model assignment, and maybe the whole thing packaged as a plugin. This experiment justifies something I've been telling myself for a while. Playing video games is research. Learning from mechanics in games you already love is one of the best ways to learn as a developer. I never thought a couch co-op mechanic would end up becoming one of my favorite features that I've ever built. I plan to do more of these. Borrow a mechanic, adapt it, see where it goes. And next time, I'm finishing with that accidental roll input started. If you enjoyed this journey, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and see you next time.